I've been feeling an internal shift that I've been wanting to discuss, but I've had a lot of difficulty naming what I've been feeling. But I've come to realize that I am deeply disgusted by a lot of the stuff that I see coming out of the online left and the online LGBTQ communities. I'm really starting to believe that some of these issues are contributing to literally the polarization of our nation and also to the disintegration of the online left and general LGBTQ communities that are online and even ones that are spreading into real life. Because I think what we do on the internet has an effect on what we're doing in real life. And I think definitely nowadays we're seeing more of the online culture seep into our everyday lives. And I think that makes this conversation even more necessary. For today, I just want to talk a little bit about trans related issues because I am seeing so much toxicity from the trans community, and I think that it has done a major disservice to trans people generally, right? In the name of public opinion, I think that's one of the areas, and I really think that in terms of like the connectedness and the unity of us as a community has also been affected. One of the major ways that I see this community disintegration is an ostracization of individuals who don't share the exact same opinions as us, specifically regarding trans topics. I'm going to give you a couple of different opinions of things that I've heard about and I think can be toxic, in my opinion. So, for example, if a trans person isn't sure if trans people should compete in sports, they get called a pick me. If this trans person is unsure of the validity of things like xenogenders and microlabels, well, they're pretty much the same thing as a right-wing bigot. And perhaps, if a trans person believes that, maybe we need to be a little more specific about the definition of trans, and maybe we have to come to an agreement that we do need dysphoria to be trans, that individual is considered to be transphobic. Where I'm sitting in my life, I'm realizing that it seems to be far more transphobic to force trans people to have all the same opinions as you, essentially. I have obviously heard this over and over again, but trans people are not a monolith and we all have different types of opinions. And I think that it's about time that we have compassion again for other people. And I know this is really hard because people don't like to feel like they're kissing up to people who don't like trans people in the first place. We don't necessarily want to extend compassion to people who refuse to extend compassion in our direction. We have this commitment, I think, to avoiding tone policing in a way that has not necessarily been useful to anything. We have gone to this point where I don't think that we can really have these types of healthy conversations where people are disagreeing. It's kind of like as soon as you disagree with someone, we can't have a conversation anymore. Or, we feel incredibly uncomfortable about this person just because of the things that they believe. One of the main issues that I have problems with this, one of the main reasons I have problems with this is because I feel like this is entering the territory of condemning people for thought crime. And thought crime is obviously this idea that people are punished not for necessarily behaviors or actions, but for beliefs and opinions. And I'm not going to lie, there are some opinions out there that I am disgusted and disturbed by. And frankly, there probably are some opinions that if someone holds those opinions, I'm not going to want to associate with you. But I think in a general sense, very generally, we do need to be, I think, more understanding of other people's perspectives and be willing to be open and to be curious about what other people are saying. I understand that I have been hurt by transphobes. I've been hurt by people, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that compassion and curiosity stops. I'm sorry to say that. I'm someone who values compassion and curiosity so deeply that I cannot allow for other people's influence to somehow convince me to be this type of narrow-minded person who doesn't hear from other people's opinions or doesn't even give any credence to other people's opinions. No, I'm going to be out there listening to people who deeply disagree with me because I want to be curious about other people's thoughts, perspectives. And also, when I know other people's perspectives, I can challenge them better because I actually know what they're talking about. I'm not talking about this like amorphous problem that's going on. No, I know exactly what you're thinking, and I can speak exactly to that because I'm listening to you. The more we do this half-hearted, I don't know, just like listen to someone, just disagree with them, I don't think that this is getting us anywhere. Now, I really am having this conversation because I want to see the LGBTQ community come together. Right now, I feel like we are being, I don't know, infiltrated by these separate the LGB from the TQ plus types of people, and I really am. I don't know. It makes me very emotional. I have a lot of emotions regarding it, mostly because I feel that we are all we had for, a long period of time. Like, we relied on the gay community because a lot of us were isolated and disconnected from friends and family and different types of people for our sexuality, for our gender expression or our gender identity. And we're doing the same thing again. We're doing the same thing. We're isolating people just for being a little bit different. And I understand. There might be some situations where it is appropriate to distance yourself. But I think that we do have to maybe push ourselves a little bit further. At least I know that I'm willing to. I know that I'm willing to push myself and be more open and curious at other people's perspectives to really hear from them. Because I think people have good ideas. Even people who disagree with me, have good ideas that I agree with. That doesn't mean that we have to be best friends. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that we have to always agree about everything. But I at least am willing to hear people out. And that is personally something that I have been working on and growing in. Specifically in my recovery from, religious trauma, that black and white thinking has such a deep hold onto me. And you know how easy it would be for me to just say, oh yeah, if you believe this, then you're bad. Well, if you believe that, then you're good, and you're one of the good ones. One of the good trans, or whatever. I'm sick of it. I can't, I'm not going to be living for the opinions of anybody else. I refuse to do that, and I think that this is trans liberation. At least one expression of it, for sure. It is me saying that I'm not going to let people, even other trans people, influence me and kind of change my opinions based on things. Unless I have heard, done the same thing, where I'm open and compassionate and curious about their perspective, and if I feel convinced, then I'm convinced. You know what I mean? But this type of immediately cutting people off or immediately, stopping conversations because someone misgendered me or misgendered someone else, I understand, guys. Like, some of you might be really sensitive to that. I'm sensitive to that. I don't like to be misgendered. But I also understand that people make mistakes. And then if I immediately write people off just because they've made a mistake, I'm going to isolate myself from so many people. And I'm not interested in being that isolated anymore. I don't want to have a circle of people who only understand me and only like me. You know what I mean? Maybe that's crazy, but I'm curious to know people and get to know other people who have different opinions. Sometimes just slightly different, sometimes extremely different. That doesn't mean that I want to maybe be friends with all of them, have close relationships with people who maybe I have disagreements that I maybe are deep enough that I have deep problems with them or something. I'm sure that'll come up. But like I said, this whole conversation is more about what does it mean that the trans community, the LGBTQ community, is so divided? And whose responsibility is it to do the work to bring us back together? And the answer is us. The answer is the people within the trans community. We have to do the work to unite ourselves back again. I don't know exactly what this means. I don't know exactly what this looks like, and I don't know if this is even possible. But I'm curious, and I'm hopeful, and I'm wondering if anyone out there thinks the same thing as me. I wonder if anyone else is tired. I wonder if anyone else is disgusted by some of the stuff that they're seeing out there. Because I know, I'm disgusted by bigotry, you know what I mean? And people who are hostile towards people who are different from them. But I'm also disgusted by people who have been, bigoted against do perpetuating those similar types of hostile behaviors towards others. Kind of the whole we can't use the master's tools to like solve, the master's problem or whatever. I forget the exact saying, but like we can't use hostility and ignorance to fight hostility and ignorance. I can't see how that is going to be functional. So, if you're curious as well as me, let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking. I think I might be trying to do a little bit more of this audio-centered content. So, stick around if that's what you're interested in. Share your thoughts with me, and hopefully I'll respond. Bye-bye.